Welcome to today's Crosspoint Devotion. I hope you're having a great day. Today I want to talk about a concept that's kind of hard to understand sometimes because it's not a concept that we really wrestle with as far as our earthly living, but it's a biblical concept that's really important, and that's the concept of holiness. Do you know that it says in Leviticus chapter 19 verse 2 these words, "Speak to the entire Israelite community and tell them, be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy." So God has said about himself, as he defines who he is himself, he says, I am a holy God. Because we don't deal in the terms of holiness in our everyday lives, that's a concept that's kind of hard to understand. Most people would define the term holiness as being separate. And that is one way to look at it. God is separate from the earth. Although he's a part of the earth, I don't want you to get the idea in mind that God created the earth and then separated himself from it and then he has nothing to do with it, because God has always intimately wanted to be involved with us as people on this earth because we're his creation. But there is a sense in which our lives, which are lived on a sin-dominated world, are separate from him. He lives in a holy place that is not dominated by sin. So that's one way to look at this idea of holiness, is he is separate from us. But another way to look at this is he is distinct. I think that's a really good way to think about the concept of holiness, is he is distinct. Well, in what way is God distinct? Well, I think there are a couple that I want to bring to your attention today as we think about the holiness of God. One of those is he is immanent. He's immanent. Now I want you to think about the other gods, little g with an S on the end, that the rest of the world will often worship. Many times those other gods with a little g and an S on the end, they're very distant. They live in a different place. They're not approachable. They have nothing to do with human life. And the goal in those other religious faiths that are worshiping the other gods, again with a little g and a little S on the end, the goal is to one day get to where those gods are. We serve a God who's holy and immanent. That means he's constantly trying to interact with us. It all started in the Garden of Eden. When God created Adam and Eve in his image, he then began to abide with them. Every day in the cool of the day, he walked with them in the garden. Even on the day that they chose to disobey his one command and they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, God still came and walked among them in the garden. They were hiding and he had to call them out, but he was there because he's a God who's immanent. He wants to be among his people. That's why later when the children of Israel were wandering in the desert, he encouraged them to build a tabernacle so he could live among them. That's why when they got to the promised land, he had David design the temple and Solomon to build it because he wanted to live with them. That's why he sent Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us, so that he could be with us. And when we finish the entire story of the Bible, he's wanting us to be with him, and we will be with him in the new heaven and the new earth. Our God is immanent. That's what makes him holy, is he's different from all the other gods on the face of the planet. He's with us. The second reason he's holy and he's different and he's distinct is that he chose to come and save us. All the other world religions are going to ask you or ask me to do something to earn our salvation. In our faith, our God is holy and distinct because he chose to come and save us himself. God took on the robe of humanity in the form of Jesus. He lived among us a sinless, perfect life, and then he sacrificially, voluntarily gave his life so that we could be forgiven of our sins. And then because of his resurrection, we could overcome death. And when we put our faith in him, he literally saves us. It's not something we do. It's not by our works. It's not by our little things that we've done to honor some God. He came to save us. And that makes him unique and distinct, and it attributes to his holiness. So as you think about the holiness of God, I want you to always keep those two things in mind. He is holy, but that means he's distinct. And two of the distinctions are he wants to be among us and he wanted to save us. And he did save us in Jesus. There are other ways that He's holy. We can talk about those at another time. But for today, I wanted you to think about those two as you think about this holy God that we serve. He's a faithful God who loves you desperately, enough so much that He wants to be with you, and He's provided a way in Jesus. Well, I hope that'll encourage you today.